When I was 23, I thought I was unstoppable. I had a good job, a fiancé who adored me, and the kind of attention from men that made me feel like the world revolved around me. His name was Mark, and he was the safe bet. The kind of man mothers hope their daughters will marry. Stable, kind, patient to a fault. He worked in finance, wore button-downs that smelled like starch and cologne, and treated me like I was the most precious thing in the world. Every Friday, he'd bring me flowers. Every Sunday, he'd cook breakfast and hum along to whatever record was spinning. He was the type of man you could build a life with, and I knew it. Everyone knew it. But that wasn't enough for me back then. I was restless, addicted to excitement, craving sparks that burned hotter than stability. So when I met Eric, a tall, smooth-talking musician who looked at me like I was the only woman in the room, I let myself get swept away. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Just a little flirting, a stolen drink together, a laugh that lingered too long. But before I knew it, I was sneaking off to meet him after work, lying to Mark about late nights at the office, and building a double life that I thought I could control. The affair lasted 6 months. 6 months of passion, secrecy, and guilt. 6 months where I convinced myself that Mark would never find out, that I was smart enough to juggle both men and still walk down the aisle with my perfect fiancé waiting for me at the altar. But secrets don't stay buried forever. One night, Mark found a hotel receipt in my purse. He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He just looked at me with eyes that seemed to dim right in front of me, like someone had turned off a light. "Who is he?" he asked quietly. My throat closed. I couldn't answer. That silence was enough. The engagement was over within days. He moved out of our apartment, returned the rings, and cut me out of his life completely. I heard through mutual friends that he left town shortly after, got a new job in another city, and started fresh. I told myself I'd forget him, that time would bury the shame. I married someone else a couple of years later, had a daughter, and tried to live as though my betrayal had been just a reckless mistake from my youth. But the truth is, I never forgot. Mark haunted me, not because I still loved him, but because he had loved me so completely, and I had destroyed it. Fast forward 24 years. My daughter, Ava, is 21 now. She's smart, fiery, and outspoken, with a sharp tongue that sometimes cuts deeper than she realizes. Our relationship has been rocky, especially during her teen years. She accused me of being too controlling, too critical, too focused on appearances. We fought constantly about her choices, her friends, her grades. And when she discovered, during one particularly ugly fight, that I had cheated on my fiancé once upon a time, it became the sharpest weapon in her arsenal. "You're a hypocrite," she hissed at me that night. "You act like you're perfect, but you ruined someone's life." I tried to explain, to tell her that it was a mistake I regretted every day, but she just rolled her eyes. She never let me forget it. So imagine my shock when, a few months ago, Ava introduced me to her new boyfriend. We were sitting in the living room when she walked in hand with a man I hadn't seen in over 2 decades. My breath caught in my throat. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might faint. Because standing in front of me, older but unmistakably the same, was Mark. He had aged, of course. His hair was peppered with gray, his face lined with years. But his eyes were still the same piercing blue that had once looked at me with so much devotion. Only this time, they weren't filled with love. They were filled with something colder. Recognition. Calculation. "This is Mark," Ava said casually, as if she hadn't just dropped a grenade into the room. "We've been seeing each other for a while." I couldn't speak. My tongue felt like lead. My daughter beamed, oblivious. Or maybe not oblivious at all. To the way my entire body froze. Mark extended his hand, and when I didn't immediately take it, Ava's smile widened in a way that felt almost cruel. "Mom," she prompted. I shook his hand. His grip was firm, almost mocking. "Nice to see you again," he murmured, so softly only I could hear it. That night, after Ava went to her room, I confronted him. I pulled him aside in the kitchen, my voice trembling. "What the hell are you doing?" He smiled faintly. I'm dating your daughter. She's 21. I hissed. She's an adult, he replied evenly. Old enough to make her own decisions. Old enough to know who she's with. Does she know? I whispered. Does she know about us? His eyes flickered with amusement. Of course she knows. She told me herself. Funny thing. She seemed very interested in the story of how her mother ruined her engagement. The world tilted. My daughter knew. She knew exactly who Mark was, and instead of running, she had run straight into his arms. Since then, it's been a nightmare. Ava parades him around like a prize, bringing him to family dinners, posting pictures of them on social media, clinging to him in ways that make my stomach turn. And every time, Mark meets my eyes across the room with that same cool, deliberate look. He's not just dating my daughter. He's punishing me. Slowly, methodically, and with a cruelty I never thought him capable of. I've tried talking to Ava. I've begged her to see reason. He's too old for you, I pleaded. This isn't healthy. But she just smirks and says, funny, you didn't think he was too old when you were with him. I tried reminding her of all the warnings about older men, about power imbalances, about manipulation. She laughed in my face. Maybe he just appreciates me in a way you never did. Maybe that's why you're so mad. You couldn't keep him, but I can. Every word is a knife. The worst part is, I can't even tell her the whole truth. I can't admit that I didn't just lose Mark. I destroyed him, betrayed him, and handed him every reason to hate me. If I do, she'll never forgive me. If I don't, I have to watch her get pulled deeper into whatever twisted revenge plot this is. I don't sleep much anymore. I lie awake at night wondering how it came to this. How one mistake, one selfish fling in my 20s, could come back to haunt me almost a quarter of a century later in the most unimaginable way. I wonder if Mark planned this. Did he seek her out? Or did Ava, in her anger, push herself into his life just to spite me? Either way, I'm trapped. At family gatherings, my parents avoid his name, but I can see the judgment in their eyes. They remember him too. They remember how heartbroken he was when I ruined the engagement. Now they watch in silence as my daughter sits in his lap, laughing, calling him baby in the same tone I once used. Sometimes I think about confronting Mark directly, telling him to leave her alone, but what power do I have? If I push too hard, Ava will only cling tighter to him, convinced I'm trying to control her. If I stay quiet, I'm complicit in this nightmare. Either way, I lose. The irony is cruel. I cheated on Mark all those years ago because I thought I could have it all. Passion, excitement, and security wrapped up in two different men. Instead, I ended up with nothing but regret. And now, decades later, the universe has given me the cruelest punishment imaginable, watching my own daughter sleep in the bed of the man I betrayed. I don't know how this ends. Maybe Mark will eventually tire of her and move on, leaving Ava brokenhearted. Maybe Ava will realize the truth of what he's doing. That she's not his future, she's his revenge. Or maybe, worst of all, she'll marry him. And I'll have to stand in the back of a wedding hall, watching my daughter pledge her life to the man I once promised mine, knowing it's all because of me. Either way, I've already lost. I lost him 24 years ago. And now, I've lost my daughter too.